I'm Chandrasekhar Sharma here again, and I think I'm going to start a series on the D charts as they are called, the Varga charts. I'll also be recording in Hindi for those who are more convenient with that language. And I'll start with the beginning. I mean, the basics. What are divisional charts? What is done is when we talk about the Lagna, that is ascendant, or a Rashi, that is a sign, then we have to understand there are 30 degrees in that. And a planet can be placed anywhere in those 30 degrees. Now the question is whether it would have the same intensity of giving, results. Obviously not, because we know there are planets in debility when they become, and there is deep debility when they are absolutely, let us say, unable to perform to their full potential. And then there is another problem which comes with, deep exaltation when they are at their strongest. They are in own house, they are in somebody's house. But this is for 30 degrees. Within that 30 degrees, can there be differences? There are. They are called the Navamshas, which we are using regularly. Isn't it? We say that we draw the strength of planets from the Navamsha position of those planets. Now, is that the only one? No. The great Parashara divided them into, Rashi, in 16 different ways. These are called the D charts or Varga charts, whatever you want. Modern young people generally call them D charts. We call them Varga charts. It's one and the same. It starts from the Lagna itself. So never be under the impression that a natal chart is not a divisional chart. It is also a divisional chart. It is called Kshetram is the first, then Hora, Dreshkan, and so on, which is sometimes you divide it into two parts, which is called Hora, the first half in a odd sign belongs to, is said to be ruled by or influenced by sun, the second half by moon. In case of even size, it is the other way around. Then there are Dreshkanas, which again are a different way. The first 10 degrees belong to the Lagna, the ascendant itself. The same Rashi is taken to be there, then the fifth, then the ninth, and so on and so forth till D60. That is, these 30 degrees are divided into 60 parts. So you can understand. This becomes a time to be finer and finer and finer. Because in 2 minutes, a Shashtyamsha, as it is called, the D60 changes. We know that in 120 degrees, 30 minutes are passed. 120 minutes, 30 degrees are passed. Now these are 60 degrees. 60 divisions. So obviously, 2 minutes per division would be the general time. But that is, of course, on equator. As we go in higher latitudes, that time will reduce. But you can understand that instead of a 2 hour or something like 2 hour uh, area of time and space, we are reducing it to a period which is passed within 2 minutes, sometimes in 4 minutes, sometimes in 6 minutes. See, this is how it goes on. But then, for that to come accurate, the exactitude of birth time is necessary is one thing. Why I normally do not use. I will be very clear. I rarely use the D charts. However, for you to get an idea of what it is, I will try to uh, maybe go through all the 16 D charts and how I would interpret. There is some people look in the aspects as the planetary aspects even in D charts. And they look at D charts in the same way that they would look at the ascendant, the natal chart. Isn't it? Personally, I think that there would not be planetary aspects in D charts. For example, in some charts you will find, some D charts you will find, Rahu and Ketu occupy the same. So their influence is only concentrated on one house and not on other. And then the great Parashara and other learners also have always treated the degrees, the aspects, planetary aspects in terms of degrees, which means If it is the fifth house aspect, it has to be more than 120 degrees. And then only it will be the fifth house aspect, otherwise it won't be, and so on and so forth. So what happens when the planets which are in the same Rashi would occupy different bhavas in the D charts. So though they are conjunct, they would appear to be aspecting each other, or even if they are together, they might look at to be in 6-8 position from each other, and you can't. This is of course my understanding of how the chart should show. But then what should be done? I think that is where the Rashi difference, as they call it, the aspects caused by the signs and the planets which occupy the sign has to be they are to be used. We have gone through the Gemini lectures earlier, or you can check them. So where the cardinal Rashis aspect the fixed Rashis, but not the one adjacent to itself if it is a fixed Rashi. Vice versa for the fixed Rashis and the dual Rashis aspects each other. So this is a simple way of the Rashi aspects. That is relevant because those specific houses, rather the areas, would be influencing each other. As I always say, aspect is nothing but influence of a planet. And in Rashi aspects, Rashis aspects each other. So those parts aspect each other, their relative position makes them influence each other. And the planets which happen to be there would also respect each other. So in that case, there would be an aspect on the sixth house or the eighth house in the divisional chart, not in the natal chart. In natal chart, if you want to use Rashi aspect, there is no harm. Parashara does mention it, but generally in terms of what is nowadays more popularly called as a Gemini system of astrology, where we look at Argalas and then we look at the Atmakarakas and so on and so forth. So having made that clear, every uh, divisional chart is given some specific area where it would be able to let us know something more about it. My view is what we should do is, suppose if it is D10 as they call it, the chart connected with your profession. I would think that what we look at is, when we look at the D chart, we are enlarging the 10th house of profession or career or whatever, and looking at it in a different manner. Where the 10th lord, his position, the his placement, etc., influences of planets on that 10th bhava, the Rashi aspects, of course, I would say, would have to be considered to come at some conclusion. Because you will see rarely from the chart you can make out the uh, career of a person, but you can go nearer. So your side becomes more narrow and more focused on a particular area. So where is the 10th house? The Rashi also that is occupied by the 10th lord. Where does it go? In the D10 chart. Isn't it? It is called the Dashamamsha. Dasham means 10th. So Amsha means part. So 1/10 of it. It is not always exactly 1/10, etc. It would differ sometimes. Sometimes only. Otherwise, mostly it is equally divided. So this is how we should look at those things. And it would never override the whole. See, part of something doesn't override the whole. Suppose you are driving a car and one of the wheels has less air, it doesn't mean the car will not move. Maybe sometimes it will, especially if it is front wheel, it might go to that direction more. So you will have to apply opposite force with the steering wheel to keep it in track. So understand that part cannot control the whole. Part can influence that part itself. Suppose my one hand is not working, the other hand can always work, isn't it? But yes, if something is to be done by right hand itself necessarily, then there would be some problem. But then still I could use something else, prosthetic or whatever to get it done. Because my rest of my body, my mind, etc., are working fine. That is what is represented by the ascendant. And that's why, at least personally, I look at the ascendant and the D9, which is now Mahavsha, from which the strength is derived by the planets which occupy the uh, natal chart. So my view is, if we are looking at the same profession I'm just taking, because that is what interests everybody of a Jataka, then we look at the D chart, find out the strength of the 10th law, the whatever is happening in the 10th bhava itself, etc., in the D chart, D10 chart, and apply all that knowledge to the uh, ascendant chart, I mean the natal chart. That is when we will know what is actually happening. Because whatever you do, see, my body will only be seen by the lagna in the natal chart. It will not necessarily be like the Navamsha chart. It can give the flavors, let us say deeper flavors. And so this is what I intend to do. I hope I will be able to finish each one in 20 minutes, which is a self-imposed time limit for me. Sometimes it might, I might sort of cross that limit, but you will have to bear with. I will also try to give mm, an example chart to make things easier, and so that I don't talk for a long time. Uh, I propose to take Warren Buffett's chart, which is available on the net, so you can find out whether what I'm saying is right or not, or is there a logic to it. And also think about whether we could have made it from the natal chart itself. You will find most of the time we can make it out, but not the finer points. Those finer points could be made out from the D charts if we use them properly. I'll again tell you that I don't myself use D charts most of the time. Very rarely will I use it. The reason being, the time frame is so short and it is so difficult to understand exact time of birth of a person. That is what the sage Narada has already said. That I would say that it is better that we look at uh, the natal chart and the Navamsha chart, just 3 degrees 20 minutes. So which is fair enough, 1/10 of so it is about 12 minutes or something like that is the time frame, which is easier to understand because the Navamsha Lagna also can indicate the color of a person. So when you are in Pandari about the Lagna, the Navamsha Lagna can many a times indicate you. That is told by the sages. They have also said that Lord of Navamsha Rashi occupied by the Lord of the 10th can also indicate profession of a person. So there is a lot of things which are happening in the Navamsha chart. And these two are enough for us, but this is for academic knowledge and for those who want to research on. I mean, never believe what I say as the gospel truth. I tell you what I understand, how I look at it, isn't it? Of course, it is always based on the knowledge of the sages. It is not my knowledge at all. It is my logic. And so, whenever you apply this, try it out on many charts and then make your own decision. Don't go half a that taking one thing and going ahead. No, it's billion of combinations, which out of which permutation combination are about a billion. You have to choose one. There you will have to use your sense of proportion, understand the person, the country, the times about which you are talking, and then only take the decision. So, my friends, I take your leave. This is the first lecture, and I hope to be able to give you much more. Maybe it might be after a period of 15 days, it might be after a period of a month. Depends, because I also propose to do it in Hindi language also, which is understood by most of my countrymen. And so I'll take your leave and God bless you.